Start reading.
Right now. Happiness, oh that. Anna studied the photos, but out of the corner of her eye, and as if dismissively, almost she spoke, parentheses, so sweet a smile, but she felt that tone off-key and checked herself. Amy, her daughter, was watching her mother's face. She was grinning at what her mother might as well have said, and she was fingering her shirt against her collarbone. That was a baby emotion she had never stopped even at age 24, and with a milk-fat baby of her own. The two women were side by side on the floor of Amy's living room. They were leaning back against one of the two chairs in the room. The grand piano took most floor space. Stray objects in the scattered New York Times took the floor space that was left. The pictures had come in the mail. Amy's stepmother had sent them, presumably not to the ghost wife, Anna, or so Anna assumed the woman would have meant her to think. But Anna knew better. She knew the woman was aware she'd be at Amy's this week, and so, of course, Anna knew the new wife had aimed her missiles straight. And the debilitating thing was, Anna recognized her own reaction was precisely what the interloping woman had mapped out. Anna could see the woman slipping photos in the envelope in Boston, smirking over the Texas scene. The replace Anna wife glued to the image in the pictures. The Junior League green of the new young wife Anna could have mentioned. What she couldn't mention was the shot where the creature was looking away but had her hand on Anna's ex-husband's thigh, under, not even almost under, his shorts, as if her hand had been forgotten in a careless proprietary graze. Anna felt queasy that the woman could send such a thing to the new husband's daughter. And in the same picture, that husband's stare at the camera, at his ex-wife, had abandoned any subtlety. It shrilled, "Look, you, my disappearing hairline and my somewhat rounding stomach, this blonde young thing adores, and of course it's irrelevant to her that I'm the teacher who can pass or fail her papers, and now can take her on my lecture tours to Kansas. Irrelevant, because at last I've found the being who joys in my soul, and I in hers. And after all those years of suffering with you, I've found my destiny, which you, who fumed against and sabotaged and blew up the marriage, aren't in any way capable of. And now, with our tasteful happiness, I can advertise the contrast. See?" Anna tossed the pictures onto Amy's lap and banged across the hall to the bathroom. In 5 minutes she heard Amy call, "Hey, Mother, she sends Xerox Christmas letters from, quote, our happy family, end quote, and you are the dearest girl I know, birthday cards, and hangs bless our home potholders on the kitchen wall, and she takes me at face value when I tell her I would like her to share, quote, with me some insights as to her, quote, lifestyle, all of which coziness he loves, and so there's no need to drown yourself in the bathroom," end quote. Anna felt her features tighten in an almost smile where Amy couldn't see, parentheses, it never seemed politic to show the way she reveled in her daughter's sassy irony. And then, too, she wasn't over-happy at being babied by a daughter, end parentheses. Nevertheless, the chance of drowning in Amy's bathroom wasn't strong, because the only water was what she brought in from the kitchen in buckets, since they couldn't risk complaining to a landlord who could get rent twice as high if he went leasing to the kind of people who could keep their payments up enough to complain. Schubert. Anna went still. She was perched on the toilet, but Amy was back at the impromptu that Anna had kept pestering her to play. Almost it reconciled her. Out the the bathroom window, across the squalor of the back screen porch, she could see a film of green, and she could hear the left-hand Schubert tracking low. The donut salesman in the next-door yard, what was he making of this wave of sound? And from a ripped jeans, black-eyed girl with a shrieking baby and a Texas-shouldered, bespectacled carpenter husband who'd studied philosophy and was mostly out of work because Austin was depressed. The husband had lugged the backpacked baby to the park so Amy could practice, so Anna could bake the birthday cake. But Anna crept out from the bathroom and pushed aside enough of the scrum of diaper bags and tambourines and bitten crackers and pop-up books and mystifying heaps of tiny dried-up gourds and I Ching books, parentheses, from this same penny I Ching pattern. Her daughter had announced the state of Anna's soul, and that Anna was not going to be forced to remember, in quotation marks, or parentheses, pushed them aside so she could stretch out on the floor with her feet underneath the piano and close her eyes and listen. Only after a while, the idle moment, I-D-Y-L-L, perfect moment, kept silting up with sludge. Amy, Anna couldn't help herself from sinking into thought, would be playing this in the Boston competition, so it was not herself, not Anna the mother, who would hear the concert. It was that woman. It would be that woman sitting listening to Amy's father, with Amy's father, that woman's hand brushing his thigh just while the woman's face mildewed into its I belong here smile and tried to give off airs of savoring andantes. It stopped mid-note, the thunder sound. The bench scraped. Books fell and banged the keys. Amy was gone. No glance, no explanation. Anna stayed stretched on the floor. No need to ask. Amy had not been able to see her mother's face when she'd been playing. Anna had made no noise. But Anna knew her daughter had picked up that she'd drifted off. When her daughter tuned in, even to her mother's dreams, and Anna lived 1,000 miles across the country, it would not occur to Anna to try to plead she had been listening. Anna could hear the water spray hammering into the saucepan. It wasn't 5 minutes before she dragged guilty-eyed into her daughter's presence. Amy was drinking her Wheatsville herb and twig concoction at a cleared-off angle of the kitchen table. After a second of silence, Amy flicked a gleam of irony in her mother's direction. Anna laughed and said sorry and made herself what passed for tea, though she was heretic enough to add honey, and in a minute said anyway she had to get the cake baked, and she got up to rummage for objects. Amy had no suggestion where to look, so Anna dug through cabinets of lentil bags and brown rice bags and unsweetened granola and tofu packages and half-used boxes of soya milk, and then hit on the memory of a possible junk stuff basket on the back porch, maybe between the aluminum recycling pile and the brown glass pile. So she headed out there and called back, as if offhandedly, maybe he'll come to hear you by himself in Boston, and you can say all those things you never can say with her on the other phone. End quotation mark. Amy said, what little game are you making up now? You know he doesn't step out of the front door without her. A needlessly uncomfortable remark, that. Anna dug under the heap of shabby diapers and shoved at the broken radio and spied an inch of a rusty pie pan she must have given her daughter in a burst of generosity. Globs of oil paint were still stuck to the bottom. She managed to yank it free, except that the tugging upset the bag of green recycling jars mixed in with the rubber pants, and a water-soaked book of Wevel's poems and dried-up pens and paper clips and a pink plastic mouse with no head, and an ice pick and a postcard from Ravenna, and one leg of a music stand and a heap of flat pink marble bits from the Elizabeth Ney discards, and the showcase shattering crashes seemed for far too many minutes to splinter off carillons of smashes. but she had pulled the pie pan free and held it up. Though speaking just from where she was, because she couldn't now step over the broken high chair that had fallen on the jars, she told Amy it was her turn to find the second pan. Didn't she think her father and the woman up in Boston might just kill each other if they never escaped the sight of each other? Amy said, "Mother, they are happy." Anna looked down at the pinkish marble on the chunk of glass and surveyed the prospects of getting back through to the kitchen, but the upset high chair had pulled over the pile of clotheslines and extension cords and wrapped itself in them to bar her way. She said, "I can't take it in that someone truly carries out those actions you mentioned, but if she honestly does put stamps on his leathers for him and writes his mother for him and finds his shirts and shoes and gloves and keys, she'll be hating him before they last 2 years." Amy said, "Mother, some people like that kind of taking charge. They are happy." By chance, since the objects had been rearranged, Amy saw, a foot or so away and under the edge of the lost car seat pad, the tip of the kitchen knife that would have done better with potatoes than the table knife that they'd been using. She stooped to try to get to it, but grabbed a broom handle to support herself, which unfortunately was too close to the open birdseed back on the shelf that was leaning against a can of nails and wires and half a can of oil. Sorry. They all fell, but the cascade sound at least was more a gentle continuing rain than the echoing thunder crashes of the glass and marble. Only the oil-soaked seeds and nails obscured the knife again. She said, "It is unintelligible and unknown that any woman who writes, we, not I, note, we pray we will be able to share with you our heartwarming experience, is incapable of happiness." At that, Amy drew in a contemplating breath, and then she began, her tone a mock deliberating one she'd long learned to assume when she touched the quick with her mother. She said, "Mother, they are happy. 2 peas in a pod happy. They will never stab each other. They bob up and call for each other if one of them has to leave a room and the other one is left with me. She never quietly explains to him that his insides are black goo oozing out over everything he touches. She reads the articles he writes, and so she doesn't have to quick make up knowing-sounding comments when he asks. If he's terrified of her, it's not blatant in his eyes. She cooks the white rice he asks for and not the brown he hates. They go to see Sound of Music together, instead of her hiving off to some Renee film. And so, of course, it never occurs to him to mutter at her standoff elitism or complain about her ignoring anyone who hasn't read Durai. And she never hides in the bedroom when his Republican friends troop in. She serves coffee and smiles when they get off on the Harlan feminists. And she picks up his smelly socks in the living room, and she hasn't once slammed his head in the kitchen cabinet when he asks her if she's cleaned the oven, and she, honest to goodness, asks him how he wants to arrange the paintings and the rugs instead of decorating secretly while he's out and sticking his favorite picture over the toilet, and she likes the way he makes the mantelpiece absolutely symmetrical. And she never hides his cute monster china objects he calls art. I saw she gave him one for Christmas instead of all the books she wants to read. Anna was lulled pretty deep by the tone of this litany, but not too lulled to be holding her breath, hoping her daughter had the grace to leave a few little sores unprobed. And sometimes she even looks him in the eye, and she carries her side of the conversation with better than a pried out yes or no. And so never mind, they think I ought to be shipped off for not doing that education major. They will never be infected with your torture because they understand, they articulate precisely what a happy marriage means. They are to put each other over everything, certainly over a spacey, debt-sunk child. They've hit the formula. Each other. Period. So forget it. Your angles never squeeze too well in marriage. If you could just play Schubert, you'd be happy, but since you can't, you're going to bake a birthday cake in a rusty, paint-gooed pie pan, so you're a lot cleverer than they are. So, Anna was hanging still under the broom handle and pie pan. No, it had not sunk her, this litany. It had not, but it had left some little sign of a weight. This Tiresias at the kitchen table with her twigs for tea had blown her image up so monster size she had to stare at it or hide her head, and she wasn't at all sure which she ought to do. She only stood considering. In any case, she didn't at the moment see how it was possible to get around the prongs of the high chair tied up in the clothesline, so she held on to the broom and pie pan and looked through the back door at Amy and thought, her father wants me to know he's capable of happiness, while here I am, mucking about in nails and glass and birdseed goo and hating his Eden and heading nowhere. To answer, she copied Amy, said so out loud, but the sound had a decided falling tune in place of Amy's clipped one, and after a minute she elaborated, so how am I supposed to cope with all this sorry happiness? Amy said, happiness, oh that, happiness. Well, at that fine-tuned insouciance, Anna bit her lip against a grin, though almost she'd have called it happiness. Then she let go of the broom handle, set the pie pan down on an oddly intact stack of oily thyme, said, oh hell, happiness, and started untangling the grease-soaked clotheslines and the smelly socks and rusty wires so she could duck the legs of the high chair and climb back through to the kitchen. The end. That's it. What are you looking at? The trees outside? And the bird and the squirrel.